Okay, I want to go back to talking about Jocelyn Nungray, the 12-year-old Houston teen who was found unalived. It was a very sad story. If you guys have been on with me, you know this story. Let me just start from, I'll read this article to you. This is from KHOU 11. It's out of Houston, Texas. New details are surfacing about how police were able to identify the accused killer of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungray. An investigator said in a search warrant obtained by KHOU 11 that two roommates of Franklin Pena, the 26-year-old, and Johan Jose Martinez Rangel, 22, went to police separately after recognizing the men from surveillance images that were released publicly. One of the roommates told police he was watching the news with the two men when he saw the images. The roommate texted his cousin in Laredo saying he couldn't talk about it out loud as Pena and Martinez Rangel were in the room with him and would hear him. The cousin reached out to HPD, and the roommate made an excuse to leave the apartment and was picked up by police. The night before Jocelyn was killed, June 16th, the roommate said he was not yet living with the men. He said he had gone out for food with them and went home at around 10 p.m. But Pena and Martinez Rangel stayed out. When he got home, he learned his landlord was kicking him out. The next day, the two men invited him to stay with them and help pay rent. He saw the news report on June 18th. Jocelyn's mother, Alexis, had put her daughter and 5-year-old son to bed around 10 p.m. on June 16th. Police said they believe she snuck out of the apartment sometime around midnight. When Alexis noticed Jocelyn was missing, she tracked her phone to a skate park near where her body was found. At around 6 a.m. on June 17th, a passerby was crossing the Rankin Road Bridge when she noticed something odd. She realized it was a body and called 911. Dive team was called to the scene and the body was identified as Jocelyn. The Harris County Institute of Forensic Science determined her cause of death was strangulation. So what I wanted to watch today was these guys have gone into court, and there's some more information about the boss, because it seems like if I go over here, where's that picture at that I wanted to show you guys? I think it was Pena here. Let's just watch this.
Footnote 10 and only on 2 tonight, an attorney for one of the men accused of killing Jocelyn Nungray is sharing new details on the case as her family prepares to lay her to rest this week.
KPRC 2's Bryce Newberry live at the Harris County Jail tonight with everything we learned in court today and that new interview you'll see only on 2. Bryce?
Lisa and Keith, attorneys for Franklin Pena have acknowledged the high-profile nature of this case. They filed a request with the judge to block their client from any jailhouse interviews or visits. And tonight, with all of the attention that this capital murder case is getting, there's already a question of whether it could be tried fairly here in Harris County. Escorted by a deputy, cuffed and in a yellow jumpsuit, 26-year-old Franklin Pena faced a Harris County judge for the first time Monday. He and 22-year-old Johan Martinez Rangel are charged with capital murder, accused of asking Jocelyn Nungray for directions and luring her to this Rankin Road Bridge where they tied her up, removed her pants, strangled her, then threw her body in the creek to get rid of DNA. They had spent hours at this bar before the alleged murder.
Was he drunk that night?
I have no evidence. I have nothing one way or the other to know.
Daniel Werlinger has been appointed to represent Pena. He asked Judge Josh Hill for a $1 million bond. Instead, Pena is being held on a $10 million bond.
As long as there's an ICE hold in place, he's not going anywhere. The bond can be set at $1. It would not matter.
Pena is from Venezuela in the U.S. illegally. He'd been apprehended, then released by Border Patrol less than 3 weeks before Jocelyn's death.
Our immigration system is broken, and if there was ever a case that reflected that, it's this one.
After the murder, prosecutors say the men asked their construction boss for money to get out of town.
I want to show you guys something really quick. So the guy on the left is Pena. He's the older one. The guy on the right, I think, is the one that is responsible for everything. And he was the aggressor in the whole situation. I'm not to say the other guy wasn't wrong, but I do believe that there was some remorse from the guy on the left. I think he's the one that told his boss. So let's keep watching.
Men asked their construction boss for money to get out of town.
There's an understanding that something went wrong, someone got hurt, and someone was killed.
The boss came forward, helping police identify them and their location. Before an arrest, only our cameras captured at their apartment. Based on the evidence presented so far, Werlinger says they have some defensible issues. The national and political attention on the case could make it difficult to find an impartial jury. And as for the connection between Pena and Martinez Rangel,
They're potentially roommates, but beyond that, I'm not prepared to comment further on any relationship.
would you describe him as remorseful?
I definitely believe he understands the gravity of the situation. He is very remorseful for the situation that he finds himself in.
Pena did not know Jocelyn before the murder. Prosecutors say
Oh, just one day ago, they don't think they're going to, News Nation said they don't think they're going to get the death penalty. Let's see why they're saying that.
Of 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungery in Houston, forensic tests have determined what many feared, that she was sexually assaulted before she was killed. That makes the two suspects eligible for the death penalty, a punishment Jocelyn's family says they oppose. Prosecutors say one of the men admitted to tying her legs and had bite marks on his arm. The details are graphic and difficult to hear. Trial attorney Karen Conti is with us now, author of Killing Time with John Wayne Gacy. Karen, your book, Killing Time, has a lot to do with the death penalty, and I know you're a law professor and you teach courses about capital punishment. How does this play into this horrific case?
Well, you know, in most states, a simple murder doesn't make the defendants eligible for the death penalty. There has to be an aggravating factor, like the woman was pregnant. There are multiple deaths. It was a police officer. So in this case, this sexual assault will make these two eligible for the death penalty because in Texas, if there's another crime that's being committed along with the murder, that makes the defendants eligible. So while this is a horrible detail, this makes the case stronger for the prosecution.
How does it factor in, though, if the family says they do not support the death penalty?
It's really interesting. The prosecution doesn't have to listen to the victims' families because when you are prosecuting as a prosecutor, you're doing it on behalf of the state of Texas. You're not doing it as a private citizen. So, but certainly the prosecutors are going to listen because who's more affected than the family of this little girl? And that if you don't have the cooperation of the family members when it comes to sentencing, they may not want to testify. They may not want to be part of it. And so when you have a reluctant witness, they're not good witnesses. So my guess is if the family is adamant that they do not want the death penalty for one reason or another, the prosecutors are going to honor that desire.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Said the family lashed out. Let's share this tab real quick.
This morning, the second capital murder suspect charged in 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungeray's death made his first court appearance. A judge set bond for 22-year-old Johan Martinez Rangel at $10 million. That's the same bond amount the other suspect, 26-year-old Franklin Pena, was given just yesterday. Our Rochelle Turner was inside the courtroom for both hearings. She's breaking down what happened.
Today, prosecutors said detectives were able to get inside Johan Jose Martinez Rangel's phone. They learned that he was trying to research how to get out of the country. We also learned that Martinez Rangel has 2 kids. His defense attorney said they do not live in Harris County. The 22-year-old was also handcuffed wearing a yellow jumpsuit as he walked into the courtroom. Court records show he and Martinez Rangel lured Jocelyn to a bridge. Pena told authorities he tried to tell Martinez to stop, but Martinez put his arm around Jocelyn's neck and covered her mouth.
See, I think so. The guy on the left, I'm not saying he wasn't wrong, you guys. I'm just saying the guy on the right was the aggressor.
Pena told authorities he tried to tell Martinez to stop, but Martinez put his arm around Jocelyn's neck and covered her mouth. Pena allegedly kissed Jocelyn. Prosecutors said Martinez Rangel admitted to tying her legs. He had bite marks and scratches on his arm and shaved his face to avoid detection. Jocelyn was found without her pants, cuts on her body. Today, we asked the lead prosecutor about the timeline on the sexual assault kit.
Our intention to expedite the testing on the buccal swabs that we took from the defendant, as well as from the SANE exam, that would be a question for the lab in terms of how soon, but we would like to get those answers as soon as possible so that we can start to get some answers for the family.
Right now, both men are charged with capital murder. Jocelyn will be laid to rest on Thursday.
They've got some footage on the funeral.
An emotional farewell today for 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungaray, nearly 2 weeks after she was murdered in North Houston.
Her death making headlines across the country. Jason Miles is live from Earthman Rest Haven Cemetery in Greenspoint with more. Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, the girl known as quirky, pretty, nice, even fun-loving was laid to rest here in this cemetery following a service inside the chapel here. Let's take you inside that chapel, which was filled with hundreds of people. It included family, friends, political leaders, and others, even classmates who read a few things, several sharing memories, obsessed with movies like Twilight. In many ways, she was a typical preteen, but now Jocelyn, also known for being the victim of a violent crime involving 2 suspects accused of strangling her and throwing her in a creek. Jocelyn's great aunt telling those in attendance today they would get justice for the 12-year-old after she shared these words. Take a listen.
Thank y'all, everyone, for all of your support and everybody that has done everything. But first and foremost, I just wanted to say I love you, Jocelyn, and we will see you again. I promise.
Jocelyn's body was escorted by dozens of people to her grave site via a horse-drawn caisson, several in the crowd yelling, quote, "We love you, Jocelyn." She is laid to rest not far, as a matter of fact, from where she was killed early last week, just in an area across the North Freeway here. Now, and since the funeral, Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor, has announced his intention to file what he is calling Jocelyn's Law, which will allow Texans to vote to amend the Constitution to automatically deny bail for capital murder suspects.
Deny bail for capital murder suspects. Okay, but I want to go back to the original issue on this. And the original issue is they were detained by ICE. And I don't know which one it was, but one of them had an anklet on because of it. And yet, I don't know why they were let out. It's all political. It's bullshit. These guys should have never been able to be around this girl. All right, let's go over to this one.
Well, Sherman, the new details read in court this morning were very hard for Jocelyn's family to hear as they outlined the allegations of what happened to her. Now, prosecutors say they were able to get access to Martinez Rangel's cell phone, which showed he was searching for ways to leave the country. They also say he admitted to a witness they interviewed that he had done something bad, that he'd hurt someone, and that that person was dead. Investigators say 22-year-old Martinez Rangel had bites and scratches on his arms at the time of his arrest, and say his co-defendant Pena told investigators that Martinez Rangel was the one who was on top of her and tied Jocelyn up and said to throw her in the water to get rid of any DNA. Martinez Rangel is charged with capital murder, but isn't eligible for the death penalty without a proof evident hearing, which prosecutors explained after today's arraignment.
And one of the things I would have to prove at that hearing is that a jury would likely give death. Because this is not death penalty eligible, I can't have that hearing by law. Now, what the judge was explaining is if we change this case to a capital murder with an underlying of sexual assault or kidnapping, those cases are death penalty eligible. And then at that time, we can have a proof evident hearing to hold them at no bond.
So I don't think they're going to let a whole lot out on this case right now. I just feel, I don't know. It irritates me so bad. It's so frustrating. It has to be. Can you imagine being the family? She's got a 5-year-old little brother as well, you guys. And how do you, I would like to know, you guys drop it in the chat or in the comments, like your thoughts on this. Should they go after the death penalty when the family doesn't want the death penalty? Should that be the family's call? You know, this is what I think. I think that if they can get put in prison, they can be lifers without the possibility of parole, then I say, okay, no death penalty. If they could have the possibility of going to prison for that crappy 15 to 20 years and then be able to get out on parole? No, that's bullshit. Sorry. I'm so tired of that. How many times do we have to see that over and over again in our true crime stuff, that these incidents keep happening because these are repeat offenders that were let out, that were given a second chance? How many chances do you give somebody? And I'm not to say, there's not to say that these guys didn't have this is maybe they got a chance and then this was their second chance. When you're dealing with life and death, should there be a 3 strikes you're out? Look at Brooks. How many times was he in prison before that parade? That guy should have been in prison a long time ago. There has to be something where somebody puts their foot down and says, this cannot, what's wrong with these judges? Why are they so lenient? And how much of crowded prisons does this have to do with it? Do we need to build more prisons? Is that, good Lord, how do you sustain a system where we can't even, there's so many bad guys, we can't even keep them all? And then, of course, you have the argument that, well, it's the taxpayers' money. People don't want to pay for these guys to live in prison. Look, I get that. But honestly, and again, I've never been a victim of a crime like this, so I don't know what it feels like to have that pain of watching someone who's hurt or killed your family member go through a trial or anything. Guys, I don't like the death penalty. I really don't. I just don't think that it's what we're supposed to be doing. I say let God judge them. That's just me, though. I don't know. It's a toughie. All right. My sister's calling me. We're going to go have coffee together. You guys have a blessed weekend, and I will talk to you very soon. Stay on the lookout for more from my channel. Be good. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and subscribe on your way out, and feel free to leave a comment. Have a blessed day.